The following program contains shocking amounts of wit. If you suffer from dim-wittedness, this show might not be right for you. Check with your mortician.
Standing for truth in the four corners of America. Fighting for justice on the frontiers of the culture wars. And turning resistance into an art form. Randall Terry.
I just want to get along with people. I just want everyone to like me. I just want to have friends. No, not really. I'm looking for some people who want to be militant. You want to be militant? Part of the Church Militant? Want to be a warrior? We're going to talk to you about that today. How to be a warrior, part of the Church Militant for Christ, and not be embarrassed about it. Be embarrassed for the people who aren't militant. That's a better plan.
It's time now for Down Home with Granny Jihad.
Allah takrapa! Boys and girls, listen. Muhammad was asked, "What is the best deed?" He replied, "To believe in Allah and His Apostle Muhammad." The questioner then asked, "What is the next best in goodness?" He replied, "To participate in jihad, religious fighting in Allah's cause."
Welcome to the show, friend. If you have been following the news for any length of time, and if you are a devout Christian, you will know that we have been in what Pat Buchanan called the culture wars for at least 4 decades, maybe 5. And the simple fact is that we in the Christian community have been steadily losing. Now, I am what some people have called a general on the front lines of the culture wars. I have spent over a quarter century of my life, approaching 30 years now, fighting on the front lines of the pro-life movement, marriage being between a husband and a wife, fighting against child pornography, standing up against Orthodox historic Islam, which is a threat to all of us. These and various and other sundry fights, such as the 10 Commandments, being in public buildings, etc. A few years ago, I decided that something was fundamentally wrong in the Christian right. Number one, we had to assess that we really were losing. In spite of some of the fundraising drivel that we get in our mailbox every other day, saying we're winning, we're winning, we're winning, it's drivel. It's not true. We're losing, okay? And you don't have to be a prophet to see that we're losing. And I decided, all right, something is wrong, and what is it? So I embarked on a study of the history of social revolution in America. In other words, America is not the same nation that it was 250 years ago. Women can vote now. Slavery is ended. Segregation is ended. Child labor is ended, right? Those are all positive things. On the negative side, 50+ million babies have been slaughtered. The militant homosexuals have overrun most of the Christian right regarding the sanctity of marriage. The judiciary has been co-opted by a maniacal anti-Christ, anti-God left wing, and is literally rewriting law from the bench. There are some good Christian judges, don't get me wrong, there's just not many, et cetera, et cetera. I could go on with the examples, but you get it. So the question is, how did we get here? How did we get into this mess? Especially when so many, literally billions of dollars, not millions, not hundreds of millions, but billions of dollars have been raised by enormous right-wing Christian organizations, whether evangelical or Catholic, right? Enormous sums of money have been raised to fight for the Christian values that we all hold dear. Why are we losing? I mean, on paper, the Christian right is undoubtedly the largest voting bloc in America. I mean, think about that. 74 to 76% of Americans are baptized, right? They have some connection to Jesus Christ. And a decent portion of those men and women are devout, right? I mean, they go to church at least once a week. They read their Bibles. They pray daily. I mean, the numbers are out there. So given the fact that we comprise such a large part of the population, given the fact that billions of dollars have been raised to fight for these various issues in the social square, or in the public square, in the culture wars, why are we losing? Well, there are simple reasons. Namely this, I'll give it to you in a nutshell. We have laid the weapons of social warfare at the feet of our enemies. In warfare, there are rules, okay? You've heard of the rules of warfare. Well, in politics, there are rules. In social revolution, there are rules. There are weapons. And we have laid those weapons at the feet of our enemies and said, oh, we won't use these. And we're being overrun. I'm going to take a break. When we come back, I'm going to tell you what some of those weapons are. If you want to see an episode of Insurrecta Next, go to our website. Insurrecta Next means insurrection or revolution against the killing of innocents. You can go and take a sneak preview at it. It looks at the history of social revolution. I'm going to take a break, and I'm going to come back and tell you exactly what some of those weapons are that we have laid at our enemies' feet. Don't go away. Every day in America, over 3,500 babies are torn apart by abortion. Shouldn't all babies, like this living, unborn child, have the right to life? Baby killing will only end when Americans see the truth of what abortion does to innocent children. You can help end this Holocaust by showing the truth of abortion in your area with a Face the Truth tour. Go to FaceTheTruthAmerica.com to set up a Face the Truth tour in your area. The babies and their mothers will be eternally grateful. How would you like to be able to reach hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of potential customers with your product or your company or your web-based business? Well, you can do that right here on this show. Every single day, we get phone calls or letters or orders online from states all over the country where people are watching this television show. Right now, we are seen in 45 cities at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time every night, and then a rerun again at 12:30 midnight. You can reach them using this show at advertising rates that are so inexpensive, it would blow your mind. So, if you're interested, contact us at the phone number that you see on the screen or the email address, and we can talk about how you can grow your business and help support this show. Compromise, negotiation. These are words that have meaning and value in the political arena, sometimes. In other words, if your community is deciding to build a bridge, well, how big is the bridge? How many tons will it hold? What do we need for our community to prosper? What might help us if we wanted to think long term? Okay, great, this bridge will work today, but will it be what we want 10 years from now? And you talk, you negotiate, you compromise. But on some political elements, there is no compromise. None. There is only total victory and total defeat. The end. There cannot be compromise, for example, over child killing. Either you can kill your baby in your womb or you can't, legally. There can be no meeting of the minds. There can be no negotiated settlement where you can kill half the babies. It's like Winston Churchill saying in 1941-42, we will not negotiate with Hitler, we will destroy Hitlerism. The end. We will kill all the Nazi thugs. We will try them as war criminals. We will crush Hitlerism off the face of the earth. Total victory, no compromise, no negotiation. All right? Well, if you look at certain social revolutions in the past, they had that mindset. In other words, all women can vote who are of voting age. It's total victory. All segregation ended. Jim Crow laws obliterated. No children can work in coal mines. Total victory. All right? How did the proponents of what were, in the day, revolutionary ideas, how did they get from the place where people could own a slave to nobody could own a slave? No women could vote to all women can vote. How'd they get there? I mean, that's a massive revolution. It's a massive cultural and political transformation. As I studied these various social revolutions, I saw themes emerge, and I boiled them down to 5 basic elements. 1 was their rhetoric. 2 was the images that they used. 3, their actions. 4, their sacrifices. And then finally, the final fruit. I think that the rhetoric and the images and the actions are probably the heart and soul of social revolution. And these are the weapons that we have laid at the feet of our enemies. For example, when women demanded the right to vote, they didn't say, we should be able to vote only. They didn't just say that. They said, men are the equivalent in America of King George III and the British tyrants that ruled us. They took the Declaration of Independence and they rewrote it just a little bit and said, this is what women are enduring with the law as it is, not just regarding voting rights, but property rights, issues of abuse. In other words, their rhetoric was highly charged. Highly charged. If you look at the rhetoric of the civil rights movement, at times it was highly charged. Then consider their images. Even before the development of the camera, images were critical in the American Revolution, but after the camera, people started to get really savvy. And the images of women being dragged off by police, being arrested, they stuck in people's minds. Those images of the water cannons and the dogs being used against civil rights workers, it evoked something in Americans who said, no, this is wrong. Segregation is wrong. This shouldn't be happening. The images were critical. And then their actions. Every single movement that I've alluded to and many others had in-your-face confrontational actions. They weren't reasonable. The rhetoric was highly charged. Their images were often jarring and offensive. And their actions were in your face. Okay? That's what propelled them to victory. And those are the weapons that are central to victory in social revolution. And those are the very weapons that most of the Christian community has laid at the feet of our enemies. We don't use highly charged rhetoric. We don't show offensive images. We don't want to have in-your-face actions. We want to appear reasonable and tolerant. And that's why we're losing. Do you want to have knowledge, wisdom, discernment? If so, you have to read good books on theology, history, books that look at the lives of great men and women. So to help you to become a more effective Christian, a better witness for truth, somebody who can engage in productive conversation that exhorts and edifies those that you speak with, we're going to do something crazy. We're offering you these 7 books for a gift of any size. You just pay for the shipping and handling, and then give whatever gift that you can, and we will send them to you. But just to make it a little bit more crazy, I will send you a second copy of my 3 books, autographed. You can give them as a gift to your pastor or to a family member and help extend truth and justice in the world. This is while supplies last. Welcome back. Do you want to win the culture wars? In other words, would you like to see America restored to righteousness and justice, where babies were safe in the womb, where marriage was again between one man and one woman, where we are not a slave labor force on the socialist plantation, where our right to self-defense is not constantly under threat, where our children in government schools are not being polluted with lies and half-truths and being taught politically correct nonsense in order to make them good worker drones who get along with everybody, even get along with things that are inherently wicked and evil. I mean, would you like righteousness to be restored? I know I would. Well, somebody has to do it. In other words, the guys who got us into this mess, they are entrenched in the judiciary, they're entrenched in politics, so they've got to be displaced. And the arguments that they have used to bring about this debauchery and wickedness have to be confronted on a rhetorical and intellectual and philosophical level, right? Somebody's got to do it, and somebody has to have the right tools to do it. I made a study of social revolutions in the past, looking at their rhetoric, their actions, their images that they showed, the sacrifices that they made, and then their final fruit. And what we saw with all of them was a level of Christian militancy. The Church Militant. That's what we're called. The Christians who are alive in the world today are called the Church Militant. And the people who were at the vanguard of these various movements that were 100% successful, they were militants. Now, there's many of us that say, I want to be a devout follower of Christ. I want to be like the early Christians in the book of Acts. Me too. The problem is that the people who have been at the pulpits and in our Christian universities and in our TV and radio shows who explain to us who Jesus is and was when he was here on earth and who he is now, and who explain to us what the early church looked like, they often leave things out. For example, obviously Jesus said, peace be with you, right? We want peace. We want to think that the Christian religion is all about peace. Well, don't go too quick. Jesus said, I didn't come to bring peace, but a sword. He said he came to bring division. They said of the early apostles, these men who have turned the world upside down have come here also. They weren't greeted with a key to the city. They were greeted with a beating and a key to the jail. Actually, they were thrown in jail and then the key was taken away. Okay? So there is an element of Christianity that is confrontational and causes discomfort and demands from us sacrifices. The loss of reputation, loss of friends, division in families. I mean, this is what it costs. So, obviously, America is in deep trouble. Obviously, we want to restore the republic. But to do that, we have to follow the rules. We have to be the Church Militant. I did a 14-part television series called Insurrecta Next, the history, philosophy, and theology of social revolution in America. All right? This is an in-depth college-level history lesson, if you will, and theology lesson of what it took to prevail in various social revolutions in the past and what it will take today if we're going to prevail. You can learn more about this online. It's there to help equip your mind for the right thoughts so that you can take the right actions to be a part of the force that brings this country back to true justice and liberty under God. Do you want to get America out of the hands of wicked and unjust men and women who are destroying the republic before our eyes, and put leadership back into the hands of righteous men and women so that we don't die as a nation? Well, you're talking about social revolution, and there are rules in social revolution. We can look at the victorious social revolutions of the past, such as the end of slavery, the end of child labor, women's voting rights, the end of segregation, and so much more, and learn from their victories. Look at their actions, their images, their rhetoric, their sacrifices, and their final fruit. We will send you this series that originally cost $129, 7 books for students, 1 teacher's guide, if you'll give a gift of any size and just pay for shipping and handling. Take advantage of it today. Welcome back, friend. I have been in the culture wars for almost 30 years. Met a lot of people. Got a lot of insights from a lot of bad experiences and a lot of good experiences. And over the course of 14 years, I worked on a book called Dragon Slayers. If you're somebody who wants to be a culture warrior and you've got that craving in your heart to fight for righteousness and justice, I encourage you to get a copy of this. We will send it to you for a gift of any size, by the way. You can learn more on the website you see on your screen. David, when he was bringing the food to his brothers as they were standing up, getting ready to fight the Philistines, King David, when he was a teenage boy, and he heard the blasphemy and the railings of Goliath. Okay? The entire army, starting with Saul, King Saul himself, they were in total fear of Goliath, not David. David said, "Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he rails against the armies of the living God?" David spoke clearly, concisely, and he had a warrior spirit in him. The man who God ordained to take down Ahab and Jezebel, his name was Jehu. Jehu, son of Nimshi, that rideth furiously. All right, he had a warrior spirit. Tragically, in the Christian community today, we've got the sidelines filled with Davids and Jehus and Elijahs, men and women, and Deborahs, like the great prophetess Deborah in the Bible. We have men and women who are sidelined because the people who are running the show, as it were, in our Christian universities, in our various theological denominations, on much of our TV and radio broadcasts, they're not warriors. They're just not, all right? They are content to live alongside the evils that we see destroying this country and not rock the boat, all right? And some of you watching this right now have this churning inside of you saying, things should not be like this. This is not what we're supposed to be doing. We've got to fight. We've got to win. I agree. And if you want to fight and win, you have to have the right theology, the right philosophy. You have to have the right game plan. One of the reasons that we put together the series Insurrecta Next, one of the reasons that I wrote the book Dragon Slayers, was to give you the intellectual property and the history to, number one, validate that sense inside of you that we've got to fight, and then to show you how to fight, to give you the mindset of a warrior, all right? And to prepare you for the heartache and the hardship that you will endure if you do it. It's not easy, people. It's come at a great cost to me and to my family, I can promise you that. But at least we're fighting. We're standing up against the enemy, charging the gates of hell. So I encourage you to go to our website, find out how you can get a copy of Dragon Slayers, find out how to get Insurrecta Next, and equip yourself to be a part of the solution, to be a warrior like David and Jehu.